This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, backed by popular demand, Will Johnson, the founder and president of Unite America First. Will, what a pleasure and an honor and a privilege to have you back on the Glazov Gang.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Now, Will, I usually consider you very cool, but tonight, those sunglasses, you've hit a peak of coolness. Tell us about the sunglasses and what they represent.
You know what? They represent me just chilling. I have family here. You probably hear some little ones in the background. I'm very thankful to be in this country. I'm very thankful to have President Trump. I'm very thankful to know people like yourself and Annie. I just have so much to be thankful for, and I'm just really relaxing and I'm chilling this entire weekend.
Fantastic, and you're very right, and all praise goes to the Lord.
Absolutely.
We have to be thankful to Him for everything that we have. Will, let's go over a few things this evening. Let's start with the border. A judge has made a certain ruling recently against the Trump administration. Tell us about it and what you think about it.
So to my understanding, there's a judge out of San Francisco, not too far from me, decided to put in the law on how he sees the amnesty should be in this country. Now, President Trump, with him being the president, it is his job to protect all of us in this country. And for the life of me, I don't understand how is it that we have judges that are overruling the president from doing what he has to do to protect us. So what does that say about the judges that are in this country? And it just so happened to be a judge that was really close to Obama.
And what do you make of that this judge was close to Obama?
You know, I think just like Obama went to the judge in Hawaii, which was really close to Obama during the time when he was doing a travel ban. And he wasn't doing a travel ban to be racist towards anybody. He wasn't doing a travel ban to be hateful. He was doing a travel ban to protect us here in this country. That's it. Now, if the travel ban wasn't going to work, they should at least try it. At least President Trump is trying to do something to protect us. It's the same thing with the border. And this judge here, being someone that's really close to Obama, apparently, he did the same thing. And basically all they are doing is undermining the president of the United States.
Thank you, Will. Well, you know, I've been thinking recently, you know, maybe the left is right. You know, we just need to start, you know, everybody's equal. Let's have open borders. I even had this great idea recently. I think that when people fly on airplanes, I think it's very racist and white supremacist what's going on at the airports recently, or always. They shouldn't have, I don't think anybody should have to buy an airplane ticket, and I don't think there should ever even be security. I think anyone can just be able to walk into an airport and get on any flight that they want to, and then we'll have full equality and social justice for all. What do you think of that idea?
No, I completely agree with you. And you know what? It's racist to stop me if I want to go onto the airplane and carry 15 kilos of marijuana. I mean, that's pretty racist if you want to stop me from taking that onto the airplane. You shouldn't stop me and ask me about it either.
Yeah, absolutely. Will, when you just think of this leftist logic, but if that's what you want to call it, but it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. And we can see how much hatred really underlies the left. Like even recently, this vagina monologues or whatever it is has been closed down now because somewhere playing in the United States, because a transgender the trans community had made a complaint that the vagina monologues now don't represent women who don't have vaginas. And so this is getting very interesting. And it's incredible And we know how the left leads and how ultimately it devours its own. And so where I'm getting to here is, in terms of the border, in terms of all this madness going on, there's a real hatred here, Will, because they talk about how, we should just be a welcoming country, etc., etc. But it's actually a fact, for instance, that Guatemala, the authorities had caught about 100 ISIS members inside the caravan when it was down there, and they deported 100 ISIS members that were infiltrating the caravan. We know that Hezbollah has infiltrated Latin America. There are serious threats to this country. My tirade ends here. What do you make of the left in terms of really deep down, how they really don't care if this country is hurt in terms of who's infiltrated this caravan? And in a way, they want this country to be hurt.
I don't know if I've ever said it being on your broadcast, but I truly believe that we're in a spiritual war. Mm-hmm. And we have so many of these leftist liberals throughout the country and even throughout the world. If you notice that they're on the same accord with their craziness. I mean, across this planet, they're telling little boys, they're trying to convince little boys that they can be little girls, just disregard the way God created you. These trainees, for them to be upset with actual women for excluding them because they actually have vaginas is absolutely insane. And then you have these leftists that will go right along with it and say, absolutely, they should be discredited, or trainees should have just as much rights as actual women when they're not actual women. So I'm kind of curious, are these trainees, are they going to go to the doctor and get a pap smear? I mean, how does that work?
And will, absolutely. And it's very telling that now we have men who become women, whatever that means. And then in wrestling and in MMA, they're competing against women and beating up women in those competitions. So this is leftist utopia.
It is 100%, and they're congratulating these men for beating up women. I heard one report where one gentleman, I can't even say he's a gentleman, one man acting like a woman in an MMA fight, end up beating the real woman so bad, putting her in the hospital, that she was like, never want to go back into that ring again. He beat her so bad. And basically the left have just opened it up for men to put their hands on women. That's exactly what this is. Where is the whole Me Too movement with this man beating a woman up in an MMA ring? Because that's exactly what's going on here.
But Will, wait a minute. You know that the Me Too movement really cares about women. Don't you see them all screaming and yelling at Avenatti right now?
Yes, Michael Avenatti. Michael Avenatti grabbed his girlfriend and was dragging her and was cursing her out while he was doing it. And then he tried to turn around and say that he didn't do it. What happened to believing the survivor? What happened to believing the woman? Apparently, she should be believed and not him, according to his whole thing when he was going against the Kavanaugh.
Right, now just a sec. Like, that's the allegation. We don't know if it actually did happen. But according to the Me Too and leftist feminists, all women should be believed all the time.
Exactly, but the Me Too and the feminists are nowhere to be found when it comes to Michael Avenatti. She made this claim. She has pictures. She has a police record. But where is the feminists? Where are the feminists? Where are these Me Too? Where are the kitty cat hat wearing women? They're nowhere to be found.
Yeah. Well, I like to always ask leftist feminists and Me Too movement supporters if the accuser against Emmett Till and if the accusers against the Scottsboro boys back in early 1930s should have been believed. They're very quiet on that.
Oh, of course they are. Unless it's something that's pushing their agenda, they're not going to say anything. They don't care. Yeah. I mean, it's the whole thing. Like it goes right along with BLM. Not to change subjects here, but to show the similarities. BLM, Black Lives Matter, the only time Black Lives Matter is when a police officer or a white person is involved. Other than that, they do not care about you, because if they did, they would be trying to fix Chicago. Same thing here with the Me Too movement. Unless it's going along with their agenda on what it is they want to make white people look bad, specifically white men or just men in general, they don't care about it. If it's somebody, because see, they like Michael Avenatti because he was going after President Trump. So they say nothing.
Yeah. Well, Will, even one of those Kavanaugh accusers now that sent a letter to Kamala Harris has now completely recanted, says she lied. She was just trying to get attention. Not a word from the media, not a word from Harris herself. And everything that we're talking about, Will, the left, full of hatred for humans and the instinct for destruction. They cause destruction, and yet they wear this humanitarian face. And so we go back to the border. It all comes full circle that what they're actually doing is trying to bring harm to this country in terms of this caravan.
You know what? I think one of the reasons why the left is not saying anything about the caravan is that the whole child trafficking. You know, there's been complete. Now, I don't have actual proof on it. And let me just make that clear. But we all know how Bill Clinton was with women. And we all know that there now for factual that there have been a whole bunch of arrests up under President Trump for these people that have been doing child trafficking. The media is nowhere talking about it because the media, my personal belief is that the media is complicit with the whole trafficking thing. And the liberals, they want to fight to bring these children here. And a lot of the children that they're bringing to the country, to the border, they're not even with their actual parents. They're acting like they're the parents of these children. And then when the children come in, they disappear. When Obama was in office, Obama grabbed those children on the border, put them on buses, and disappeared them. They have no idea where the children are. And those children were separated from their families.
Will, during the midterms, let's talk a bit about them. But, you know, I see you quite a bit now on video clips, etc. Have you had your own experience with security, with Antifa? Have you been attacked at all? There's a lot of rumbling around you. Anything happened to you recently?
Not here recently, but I've been to a couple of pro-Trump, pro-American rallies where Antifa show up, and they've been pretty weak here lately. The last couple places that I went to where they showed up in pretty good numbers was Portland. And then, of course, Berkeley. They always show up in Berkeley. Antifa, which is the foot soldiers for this domestic terrorist group that I call the Democrat Party in America, they have received their orders from Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, Chuck Schumer to attack conservatives wherever they are. And that's the very reason why we see them attacking Tucker Carlson at his home.
Yeah.
See, they're taking it to the next level. Yeah. They are extremists, and they want to do just like you said. They want to destroy this nation. And if using Antifa is one way to do it, they are going to do it. They're being very well funded. The same way this caravan is coming up to the border, they're being very well funded because of the trucks, the food. They have cell phones, they have clothing. They're housing them. So the destruction of America, to me personally, is the number one agenda for the Democrat Party.
Yes, absolutely. Will, in terms of the midterms, I mean, we can't talk about this enough. Here's my first question, because I get so disoriented because there's so many things happening here. What's going on with, there's an election, then all of a sudden in the next 2, 3, 4 days, there's these strange trucks that come in overnight with 100,000 more votes out of somewhere, and they all happen to be pro-Democrat. How could this be? How can 100,000 ballots be all for the Democrats? And where do these trucks come there's a lot of corruption going on, yes?
Oh, absolutely. You know what? They're trying to turn these states that are red into a blue state the same way they did California. California used to be a red state. The last time it was red was under Bush 1. It was Reagan and then Bush won, and after Bush won, that's when it became blue. Reagan opened up the borders and gave amnesty to thousands upon thousands of illegals. They all started voting Democrat because the Democrats convinced them that it was them that pushed Reagan to give them amnesty. Now they're using the same tactics that they use, just like they use here in California, in these other states, by ballots just showing up, telling everyone who we want to be elected, the elected official, and they're giving it to them. What I don't understand is the GOP sees it happening and they do nothing about it. The people have been throwing money at the GOP. The GOP is not fighting it. If it was the other way around, just like in Georgia, the lady that lost in Georgia, she's trying to go to a federal judge to overturn the election because she's not happy and they didn't get what they want.
Absolutely. Will, your thoughts on the midterms? There was some good, some bad. You know, there could have been a blue wave. I think we got a blue ripple. They took the House. They got all the seats. But thank God that the Republicans retained the Senate. Then there was all that corruption. What did you think of the whole thing? Is there some hope left?
You know what? Personally, I think they were really concentrating on getting the House because typically throughout history, when there's a Republican president, that the Democrats would get the House and vice versa. They really wanted to get the House, my opinion, is because they can, at this point, bring up these fraudulent charges on the president, ask for his taxes when he was a private citizen. Now they're getting ready to go after his daughter for emails that she did not delete, that were not classified, that were just very few emails. It wasn't 33,000 emails that were deleted. It wasn't sitting on a private server somewhere in someone's restroom. They are using this. And I truly believe that they're going to use this position in the House to bring, like I said, to bring up these fraudulent charges. And then when they present it to the Senate and the Senate says, no, there's nothing here, they're going to use that information in 2020 to say, look, we had all XYZ on the president. These Republicans in the Senate didn't do their job. I truly believe that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, scary stuff, how much they how much they hate Trump.
Oh, they love to hate Trump. No, you're right. They love to hate Trump. I mean, that's their whole thing.
Right. They hate Trump, and we love Trump because Trump loves this country. Now, Will, as a Black American, do you get really offended when Trump calls himself a nationalist? I mean, it's so neo-Nazi to put your country first ahead of other countries.
Oh, no, not at all. If you think about it, my whole thing, uniteamericafirst.com, it's all nationalist. It's about uniting America first. If we don't take care of our home first, then what do we have? It's just like if I lived in another country. If we didn't take care of our home first, what do we have?
Right.
So when him being a nationalist, I'm saying thank you. Thank you for putting the American people first. Thank you for putting the American citizens first. Thank you for putting the people who love this country first. Now, he also came out and said that he wants to help other countries. He wants to help the world. But we got issues here that we need to resolve. How do we look trying to fix everyone else's issues when we can't even fix our own?
Absolutely. And Will, you know, the left will twist this. They just twist absolutely everything, calling the president all these names. I mean, I just love Trump so much. Even recently, you know, he just says, you know, Pakistan doesn't do anything for us. We give them billions of dollars. So that's going to stop. I mean, just common sense once and for all. Just a great president. No wonder the left hates him, because he's taking care of America and American interests. And of course, they're going to slander and libel a great president that loves this country. And of course, they're going to slander and libel a black American who dared to leave the Democratic plantation and that also loves this country. Now, let's spend a bit of time on that. How are you dealing recently with the name calling of you being a white supremacist, of you being the C word, and all of that stuff? There's a lot of hatred towards you coming from leftist black Americans, but also racism from leftist whites.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I've had racist, leftist, white people tell me I don't know what it is to be black. When I used to consider when I was consider myself a Democrat, and I would have conversations with conservatives and Republicans, they always just told me, so you know what, you're confused, you don't know what you're talking about, you're misguided. It wasn't until I became a conservative that I started getting all of these racial terms thrown at me. And when I started really, and it's just really started waking my eyes up even more. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a conservative now, based because of my values. I'm a conservative. Now these liberals are calling me the N word, the C word, the P word, the O word, the every alphabet hateful word that you can think of. They started calling me those names. And I'm like, this is crazy. They're supposed to be the party of tolerance and openness, but they are just the opposite.
Well, black people are supposed to think a certain way according to leftists, and if they don't, they're not black anymore. Let's for a minute play the devil's advocate. Maybe the leftists have a point. They tell you that you're not black anymore. Will, what's the argument there? Do you think that that a person's race could really change if you're a conservative and you happen to be black?
Well, you know, if we're going to play devil's advocate, maybe I can just wake up tomorrow and identify as being a white person. You know, I mean, maybe I can identify being green alien. And since I'm here, I'm going to be legally and I can get whatever I want. See, the left.
You'll have white privilege.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I should be able to collect on my white privilege. Where is it at?
Well, we can change our age now, too. If we want to, if a 20-year-old wants to identify 75, you can even get your old age pension now, probably.
Yeah, I think I want to identify as a 24-year-old female that's a lesbian.
Okay, so Will, how Candace Owens doing amazing, beautiful work. Charlie Kirk, I mean, some really great stuff going on there. How is Brexit doing? How did it go with black Americans in the midterms? The Democrats are really panicking that they're losing so many black Americans that are leaving the Democratic plantation, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, when I went to the White House and standing in the room with President Trump and 400 plus other black people, the liberal media did not want anyone to know about that. They don't want people to hear about Brexit because they don't want people to believe that black people are actually leaving the Democratic plantation. They don't want anyone to know. When I was in the White House with these other black people, the mainstream media decided to come out and say that we were paid to be there. Now, I would say a great majority of the black people that were in the White House at that time, before they went to the White House, they had their reservations about President Trump. Some of them didn't even like him. But then when they heard that the mainstream media was saying that they were paid to be there, their eyes were opened. They saw it firsthand.
I think Al Sharpton was one of the characters that really said something ugly about that, right?
Yes, Al Sharpton did. Absolutely. And Roland Martin, he even showed up to try to play damage control to try to get people to not leave the Democratic plantation. You know, they remind me of Samuel Jackson in Django. They play this role where they don't want black people to leave the plantation. And just like in the slavery days, when slaves would leave the plantation, they would send other slaves to retrieve the slaves. I mean, it's completely insane. And the Democrats have not changed their ways. They have not changed their tactics, and they're still doing it in the year 2018, just real slick like.
Yeah, Will, I was watching one of your videos in the White House, and you were with Terrence there that does those videos on Twitter, and he's a hilarious, very smart guy. Tell us a little bit about Terrence.
Oh, Terrence is phenomenal. He's a really good guy. I had an awesome time with him, and he's always joking. He always bring when the craziness is going on, he always bring a laughter to it, and that's what we need because this what the left is doing is taking this craziness to the extreme. They're taking it to the next level,
Yeah.
and we have to have some kind of laughter within all of this chaos.
Well, Obama during the midterms, he seems almost like he's falling apart. I was watching a few of his speeches and he seems very frazzled. He's angry, obviously referring to himself about 3 million times during each speech. But he seems like he's spiraling out of control how much he hates Trump. What do you think's going on with Obama mentally?
Mentally, I think he's always been unstable. I think Obama is an advocate of Satan. And a lot of people say that he was Satan, an antichrist. I won't say that he is the antichrist, but he is one of the antichrist.
Well, look, you've got to stop beating around the bush and really say what you really think about things.
Maybe I got to hold back just a little bit because I don't want to get censored as much any more than they already are.
Right, but Obama is really angry at what Trump is doing.
Obama set up shop just down the street from the White House. This whole deep state that they're talking about is real. It is a real thing that they are doing. And it's funny how when Donald Trump was traveling the world, Obama was going right behind him, act like he's playing damage control, trying to fix everything that or change everything that or redo all the accomplishments that President Trump is doing across the world.
Right. I want to talk about two women that come to mind that are really damaging this country, and I want to bring up one woman that I think is the best person in this country right now in terms of fighting for freedom. Let's start with the worst. Hillary Clinton comes to mind, Kamala Harris. But hey, look, Nancy Pelosi.
Feinstein, Maxine Waters.
Absolutely. But what do you think about Hillary maybe coming back and trying to run again?
I think it's good. I really want to see the primaries for that 2020 with Hillary Clinton on the ticket like that, because they're going to dog her like no tomorrow. But see, the thing is, she still owns the DNC. That's what a lot of these Democrats don't realize. She still owns the DNC because she paid their debt during the 2016 election. And a lot of people don't know that. She paid their debt. She bought so essentially she bought the delegates because it should have been Bernie Sanders, but they knocked out Bernie Sanders because she was bringing in 30 people to her rallies and Bernie Sanders was bringing in 130,000 to his rallies. So it was clear as mud that what she was doing.
When Kamala Harris recently was comparing ICE to the Ku Klux Klan, Will, what an insult to the real victims of the KKK. What did you make? I mean, this is just really terrible stuff, and it trivializes the suffering of black people that did face KKK monstrosity.
Well, see, they try to pawn off the KKK with ICE, with ICE, trying to make it look like ICE is just as bad, because ICE is really being promoted and being pushed by the president. They're trying to say everything he does is for white nationalism, white supremacy, when in actuality, it was the party that she's supporting, the party that she's sitting on, that actually created the KKK. And they're still doing the same thing today. So for her to sit there and try to say that the ICE is equivalent to the KKK is insulting, not just to black Americans, but to all Americans.
Your thoughts on Michelle Obama, always saying very strange stuff?
You know what? Michelle Obama, she's another demonic demon that's just right there along with Barack Obama.
You know, you got to stop beating around the bush, Will. You got to just, I mean, if you're going to say what you think, just say, well, why do you say that?
Because so for to give you one example, she has a library in LA. And in this library, she had children come in and she had this guy, a trans, dressed up looking like a demonic demon with horns, reading demonic child stories to these children. What person in their right mind does that? And she's a big advocate of it. So she's just another demon, just like the rest of them.
Scary stuff what the left is, and we talked about these women that represent a lot of destruction and dark forces. When I think about a woman in the United States right now, hands down, the coolest, doing the most important work, obviously Annie Cyrus. What do you think about Annie Cyrus?
Oh, you know what? I love Annie Cyrus, and she just hit 1 million views on YouTube.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I'm so jealous and happy for her at the same time.
We just call her the Million Girl now.
Yes.
And you know, there's something about Annie. Sometimes you can actually feel her in the room and hear her voice. Let's just try it. Annie Cyrus?
Okay, you guys are just too funny now.
Annie always shows up. Annie is the Million Girl.
Yes, I love it. I love it. It's so awesome.
And we love her together. She's doing very important work on the front lines. What an honor to have her at our side. Before we go, Will Johnson, what should Americans have on their mind right now, and what should they be supporting and fighting for?
I think right now what we should be supporting and fighting for is Trump to fight against this crooked judge in San Francisco by making it to where our families will be harmed. And what we need to be looking forward to is everything that Trump is doing, and be thankful that we have our families and we still have a sovereign nation.
Yeah.
If the Democrats get their way, they're going to destroy it. We will no longer be a sovereign nation.
Will, quickly here, why do you think Kanye folded or got out? Or I know that there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, but it was a bit sad how Kanye withdrew from the battle in some way.
Yeah, you know, when you're a millionaire and you're getting attacked from a whole bunch of people, you tend to act a little different. You tend to see things a little differently because he doesn't have the same issues that we have. He's not worrying about his light bill. He's not worrying about the insurance for his vehicle. He's not worrying about the stuff that the normal people have to worry about. So his emotions, his feelings are hiding on stuff that they shouldn't be on.
Will, before we go, there are some black Americans right now that are part of the Democratic Party watching this show, and maybe they like what you're saying. It makes sense. And yet they're afraid, oh, I might be called an Uncle Tom. I might be called a white supremacist. I might be called all of these names by my leftist friends. What would you say to those black Americans watching right now and they can't help but agreeing with you and they want to take that step?
I would tell them to look in the mirror and ask them how much do they love themselves. Because if you're going to be fake with yourself, you're fake with everybody else. What does that make you?
And why do you think, what would you say is the nutshell of why it makes sense for a black American not to be a leftist, not to be in the Democratic Party, but to go over to the conservative Republican side?
Because the Democratic Party has been giving empty promises for years and never fulfilled any of those empty promises. The conservatives, they don't make promises. They put things in place for you to work for yourself, and then you get to keep what you work for. The Democrats say they're going to give you something, and they've never given black people anything. The Republicans don't say they're going to give you anything, but they will say that you can work for whatever it is you want, and you get to keep it. You work for what you want when it comes to the Democrats, and they want to take it.
Will Johnson, thank you very much, and I am very impressed with the sunglasses this evening.
Thank you.
And everybody can visit you at uniteamericafirst.com, am I correct?
That's correct. UniteAmericaFirst.com has every link to all of my social medias.
Will Johnson, great pleasure and privilege to have you on the Glazov Gang. Keep up the fight for freedom and for liberty and America.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
And thank you. And thank you for joining the Glazov Gang this evening. Make sure you go to AmericaFirst.com to support Will Johnson, but also make sure you're supporting the Glazov Gang. Remember, we're a fan-generated program. We're only here because of you. Please go to JamieGlazov.com and give us a Christmas present if you can. And if anything, please subscribe to the YouTube channel of the Glazov Gang. We will see you very soon. Good night.